as a writer, I know there are sometimes when I just have writer's block and you can't think of anything sort of inspirational. Have there been times when you just can't think of something that's
Yes.
worth talking about? And what do you do when you can't get over it?
I mean, it's a really hard thing. Like, it's a really, like, I think there are a lot of people who want to do creative work, and it's hard to know what to do the work about. And then, like, part of figuring out how to make something is not just like, well, how do you edit something so it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and how do you, like, how do you learn the craft of it? Like part of it is literally figuring out, like, how are you going to find something that you'd be willing to work on? And it's weird because, like, I think when you're taught how to do creative work, like, nobody ever tells you, like, here's how to find an idea, and it's a huge, huge problem. And I think there are a couple ways to think about it. Like one is that you kind of like look in every direction and you sort of make it part of your job to actively kind of browse and look for stuff. So like when I was working by myself, I would just like it was sort of like I would set aside time, I would set aside money too that I was making, and just like with the thought of like, okay, I'm going to bookstores, I'm going to buy magazines, I'm going to like wander around, I'm just going to spend time like looking for a thought that is interesting enough to me that I want to look into it more. Then there's this game that you're taught as like a producer to play with because I worked on news shows for so long, where you go through the newspaper and you go through every story and you try to figure out some question that you could, like some little moment, like sometimes it would be one little thing in a news story, like when I first, and you try to make that the thing you look at. Like when I first moved to Chicago, there was weirdly this series of people getting hit by lightning.
Whoa!
And like normally in the course of
Chicago, not just one.
Not just one. No, normally in like a city the size of Chicago, like it'll be like one person a year. But for some reason, like there's some weird weather thing happening where it would get misty, and so people would still be outside. It wasn't raining, and then lightning would strike, and suddenly these 13 or 17 people got hit in a 1 month span. To the point where it was the month I had moved to the city, and there were like their tabloid papers literally had headlines that said how not to get hit by lightning. And I just felt like
walk like this.
Yeah, kind of like exactly. No, I thought like God, I've moved to a city of morons. Like the paper is publishing like how not to get hit by lightning, and in every story there would be like the normal boring stories that are in the paper, right? And the dude is like, whatever, and he was hit by lightning. He was out on a golf course with his 3 friends, blah blah blah. And then in every story there would be like one quote, one interesting quote, and the quote would always be from the person who got hit, because almost all of them survived, and except for one. And the person would say, we're standing out on the golf course, and Mike turns to me and starts to say something, and then everything went white, and I heard this kind of like buzzing sound far away. And Mike is still talking to me, but I can't see, but it's like he's in slow motion, and I can't hear the words that are coming out of his mouth, and there's this buzzing sound, and then we're falling to the ground, but in slow motion, and I don't hear any sound at all. And like, it was just like, wow. And so I thought like that quote is so much more interesting than anything else in the paper, and I thought well, what I wanted to know, I want to know more about that. And so for the story that I wanted to do, I wanted to just basically talk to all of them about the moment that the lightning hit. And so it's like this exercise where just like you look through for the one little thing that just gets your blood going. I think it's hard to do any kind of work that's any good unless you're excited. I think a lot of us, when we're starting off making stuff, there's like the official way to write a poem, there's the official way to write a story, there's the official way to write a news story, and like we feel like we've got to sound like other people, and I think that generally like it's more important that you're excited about it than to actually do it the way that's supposedly the officially way.
Yeah.
So.